Greetings, I'm Sami Laakso from Snowdale Design, and I welcome you to the stream where I will be finishing up yet another illustration for the deck building game named Tale of Murder's Collection. Today I'm going to finish up Kalendin, the wood turtle sculptor, and as always I will first introduce him, tell a bit how his abilities work, and after that we will dive into the drawing part. Here we have the card, the character card for Kalendin, and he has an ability named Prepare here, which the player using Kalendin can use as many times as they want during their action phase. And for this there are a few new keywords that I need to explain first in order to make sense of how the ability actually works. There's the, let's start with the finish. That's kinda like stop and spend, which can be found in the finish keyword can be found in wood turtle cards, and in those anytime the card says finish, you will stop resolving the card immediately at that point and simply leave the card in your schedule. Then you may continue resolving the card during your turn when you spend the amount specified next to the finish keyword. So we could, for example, have a card that says draw a card from your deck and place it into your hand and finish 2. And after that it may say again draw a card from your deck and place it into your hand. So when you play it, you draw a card and leave it into your schedule. Then you might spend 2, if I said finish 2, I don't remember my example. So it would, if it would have finished 2 in the middle, then you would on any of your turns during your action phase spend 2, so discard card value 2 or more, or 2 once, for example 2 chunk cards, in order to continue resolving, in which case you would draw yet another card from your deck. And another keyword for Kalendin is the reusable, which I have also explained in some of the previous videos. And any Animal Folk technique card is reusable if it goes always into a discard pile after resolving it. For example, most of the cards in the technique cards in the game are reusable, but there are a few exceptions like Acorn, the Flying Squirrel 4, which lets you swap the Acorn with any card from another player's stall, in which case you lose the Acorn by playing it. So that's not reusable card. So now that we have those out of the way, I can actually explain what Kalendin does. So on your turn you may play a technique card while you when you activate the Prepare ability, and it must be a reusable technique card, and you place one token on it. The game will come with a ton of these blue tokens, and different charter cards will use them in different ways to keep track of things. And you simply play the card into a schedule and place a token on it, and treat as if the card has finished 2 at the end of the effect text, if it didn't already have finished card. So pretty much any card except wood turtle cards. So you will resolve the card as usual, but instead of placing it into a discard after fully resolving it, you simply let it stay in your schedule with the finish 2 at the end. And and then we have the later part here, which actually makes the ability worthwhile using. And first we have a limitation here, so you can have only 3 prepared cards in your schedule. So the easiest way to keep track of it is just during setup place 3 tokens on Kalandin's character card, and then use those when you use the ability prepare. So you remember that you can only have 3 of those in your schedule at any one time. And then here, when a prepared card would go to your discard pile, you remove the token or place it back on Kalandin's character sheet if that's what you like to do. And instead of discarding it, you place a card on top of your deck. So in essence, you may reuse your cards or get them back immediately on the next at the end of your turn when filling up your hand up to a card limit, if you prepare and then finish the cards. So we have themed it that he's making sculpts of all the items that he's using, so he can use them multiple times, but it does need he does need resources to finish up, so because they have the finish too. So it's not that complicated of an ability after you know what reusable and what finish keywords mean, and those are used in other cards in Animal Flow decks and in character cards as well. Or I should say that the finish keyword is exclusive to Kalandin in character cards and exclusive for wood turtles in their deck. So that's what the turtles usually do, so that's what Kalandin does as well. So now that we have a better knowledge on how Kalandin works, I will move on to finishing up the illustration up here, as now it has the sketch and base colors that I have done earlier, and also outside of stream. So let's get drawing. Yeah, and here you can actually see that I haven't drawn any sort of base or table for the sculpt, simply because you can't actually see it here, so didn't bother doing that. So I'm happy with all the colors and stuff like that, so next I will see if any of these need fine-tuning or polishing. And after that I will move on to adding shadows, highlights, details, all sorts of stuff. But first I want to make sure that I'm happy with the base colors. I also have some reference images here. Here on the bottom is the illustration for the one valued wood turtle card that I have drawn earlier. And some photographic reference images, photographs. And here's also a wood turtle card valued 4 over here. So I used the, I'm not sure if it's chisel and hammer or something like that. Those Kalandin is holding those his hands. I think I should add some darker spots his hands and some on his neck as well. The cannon here on the bottom left is also, it's a sculpt of the cannon found in the Tomb Bat deck, so he's actually sculpting an item that can be found elsewhere in the game as well. Oftentimes when characters use or need some sort of item that they use on the illustration, I like to use items from the different decks that can be found in the game. I think that should be enough at this point, and I think I will move on to the shadows. Here's without the basic shadows, and here's with them. I will also add shadows to the front cloth as well, but first I will smooth out the edges of the current ones. I could use a smoother brush to make them more smooth right away, but that way it's hard to get nice borders. Nice and sharp borders where I do want them, so I prefer to do it this way. At least for now, I've tried multiple different ways, and this is my preferred method as of now. For example, here I want the line to be sharp, here smooth, so I really can't use a single brush to do that very well. so I prefer to use a hard brush, so I get this line here, and then I can smooth out the other side, like here I can smooth out this one and still have a sharp line on the other side here. And here, for example, in the marble, I want it to be sharp all around. Of course, I could swap out the brushes all the time, but more often than not, I want at least one side of the border to be sharp. For example, here I want it to be smooth pretty much on both sides, but then I want it to be sharp here so it doesn't bleed over to the shell. So even in this case I prefer to use sharp brush. Then I will add some shadows to the... I'm not sure what do you call this blue cloth in front of him, which make it possible to not get all dirty painting or sculpting or anything messy. I think it might be apron or something close to that. Even this doesn't need to be too smooth because I will add a lot of stuff on top of all of this. Like, for example, now it's now it's time to add some texture, which I do pretty much always at this point. I usually do this part so that I would change the color all the time. I might try if it's faster or better to with a single color and then painting on top of it. in the next step, because this always also bleeds over. Because I don't want to turn this brush too small. I want to keep it relatively large, or the pattern will be smaller as well. For example, if I turn it like this small, the pattern is not what I'm looking for. About this is around the size I like to use for these characters. So now that I have the pattern all around, I can lock the transparency of the layer, and then change the color of the pattern to match whichever part I'm drawing on. Next I will add highlights. Those I do like to add with a smooth brush. We'll just add some on the far edges of the chart there. To add even more three dimensions look to the character. Cat is fooling around. Not the first, and probably not the last time. He's developing a new habit of wanting to come and have attention when I'm drawing. Here's with and without the highlights. Let's turn the sketch layer not entirely off, but almost, because I will, when the art is fully completed, I will turn the sketch off. It's not just right now here to give me some guidelines on where different parts should be. Next I'm going to move to the final detailing phase, where I do all the rest, and usually I don't do anything after this part. Next time I will definitely think twice before choosing to draw turtle in a such orientation that their back shell is exposed. Takes quite a lot of time to draw all these patterns. Well, if nothing else, I hope it makes you appreciate the artwork on this game and on others as well when you see it, because there's always someone actually drawing it piece by piece. And there's rarely any shortcuts. More often than not, the only shortcut available is to use less original art and reuse the pieces that you already have. That's why many board games have, for example, the same artwork on multiple cards and less unique pieces, because it takes a lot of time to draw them, and if it's not your time, then you're paying for someone else's time. I think this part won't even be visible, but I'll draw it anyway. Sometimes I use these pieces on different places outside of the original place, so in those cases it's nice to have more artwork available so I can show more. Welcome to the stream, Kate Turner. Nice to see you here. Yeah, there's not too much left. Here's what we started up today. Wood turtle sculptor named Kalendin. And here's what we are at right now. Just finished up the outer shell on his back with like this. It was quite time consuming. Based on your messages, you have been watching these videos after they have been finished streaming. I really appreciate that, and I'm happy that you like to watch them, and great to have you here now as well. Thanks for the kind words, Keith. I try to stream at different times, so different people can join these from different time zones. For example, like now it's coming 10:30 in the evening for me, but it's not a problem because I often stay up quite late. I was when I decided that the game will have over 50 characters, I was pondering if I make them as detailed or even more so than the other Animal Fall cards, because I feared about the time involvement that it would have. But in the end, I decided to go with high quality artwork on these as well. I did try a few different types of drawings, like only one color and using like lines for shading, and so all pictures would look like hand-drawn illustrations with brown or something like that, and it kind of worked. But then I did one test how it would look like with full color artwork, and I like it so much more that I did decide to go with full color detailed artwork on all of them. And I'm happy with that. I did choose to do so, but still it's an awful lot of work to draw this many. None of my games before this have had nearly as much unique artwork on them as this one. For example, I counted, and this has more unique artwork than Delphometas 1 and 2 combined. Yeah, so Keith was surprised when I committed to as many characters as I did. Well, it was more a matter that I had so many ideas for the characters, and even few more than we currently have. But I chose on 55 because, or rather 64 cards, because that's the sheet size for this sized cards, and we have 64 cards, from which 9 are like supporting cards, which has, so some characters use 2 cards instead of 1, so they have 1 with the character and another which has some supporting things, like for example one has his own little market where you can purchase cards and stuff like that. So it's 64, and the option was have unused cards on the sheet or fit 2 games on 1 sheet, so it would mean 32 cards per game, which would be like less than 30 characters, and I had way more ideas, so that's why I settled on over 50. When I do decisions for the different games and components they use and stuff like that, I like to maximize and use, or min-max, and like use all the components available. So you will also get the best deal out of the price of the game, and it just feels like a waste of not doing that. And I'm glad hearing that you will look forward to playing the collection for a long time. I also enjoyed playtesting it when we tested all the decks and the characters. There was a lot of playtesting, multiple times with each character, and even more so with all the different decks and the different combinations that they make possible. Yeah, the background color indicates how complex the ability is. So the red one is the most advanced one. Here I can show an example of for the supporting cards. The computer is a bit slower when I'm streaming, so it takes a while for it to load up the cards. Yeah, the insert was, and the bigger box was one of the main reasons for the bigger box as well, because I have my own prototype box, which is a large one, and have my own custom made insert, and I can only imagine how annoying it is to have multiple smaller boxes and not being able to fit everything in them, and then setting up and tearing down the game is quite a pain without proper insert and organization. Let's see, here's if I can find him. Here. So here's an example of a character who uses an additional large card as well, which all the components that they use are shown here under the name. Let's try to fix that. So Kazembo, the dwarf crocodile gang boss, needs his code of conduct, which is a large card, and tokens, which are used in various different characters. So he has the ability called Enforce, where he can add a single token on his code of conduct, and opponents must follow the rules on the code of conduct marked with tokens, and at the start of your turn you must remove the token, so you have basically one rule active at any given time. And here I can show you the actual code of conduct, which has, this is the beginner's manual. Here's the code of conduct for Kasembo, and with the 3 rules, but you always keep one of them active. And he has different penalties for doing different actions. So for example, here if anyone builds a stack, their hand size is decreased by 1 for the turn that they did broke this rule. Here's the, if anyone purchases a card, the new card is placed at the bottom of their deck instead of their hand, and here if they play any technique cards, they must spend 2 after doing so, so discarding 2 junk cards or a card valued 2 or more. And here's some blank space on top and bottom, and I will do some illustrations to fill up that space as well. So there are, here's the 9 different named specialty cards when some characters need more than 1 card to show all the abilities that they have. Let's get back to the matter at hand, try and finish up Kalendin. There's a single character for each of the Anima Folk decks in the Elf Legends 1 and 2 and collection, which are always themed after the deck. Like here the Kalendin is themed after the Wood Turtle deck with Finnish keywords, and Kasembo is an example of the dwarf crocodiles, and his ability is all about making threats to the players, just like the dwarf crocodile Anima Folk deck. So Keith, have you played Delve Mutants before, or is the collection your first one playing it? Based on some of your comments, I would assume that you have played it before, but can't be sure. So you have not played it before, and looking forward to the asymmetric powers from the collection. Yeah, if you haven't played it before, then you are going to have a ton of stuff to play with. Just with the decks, there's like yeah, you get the beavers as well, so it's 6 plus 6 is 12 plus 8, so it's 20 plus the beaver, so it's 21 decks. And if you, for example, you play 2-player games, that's 3 decks per game, so it's already 7 games to play each deck at least once. So if you do end up liking the game, which I of course hope you do, you're going to have a ton of stuff to explore. So you said that you like deck builders in general. What are your favorite deck builders that you have played? Because Delve Merchants does differ in some quite critical ways from other deck builders. Like, well, the winning condition is one, and some that take place during the game are the fact that you are not going to discard your hand after your turn, so any cards left in your hand stay there, and the new cards that you purchase from the market are placed in your hand instead of your discard pile. So those two changes alone make the game. You will have to approach it with quite a different mindset from when compared to other deck building games. I thought that this wouldn't take as long as some of the animals that have fur, but well, the scales or on the different spots on his skin does take quite a lot of time. think I just need to make some of the shadows a bit deeper and add some more to other places, and should be ready after that point. For example, I don't have good enough shadow here below his hand. Here's with and without the final shadows. I think it's starting to get pretty much finished. Let's see if I tune the colors just a tiny bit like that, and then I will make one. I can show you the comparison between what we started and the finished piece. So here's the finished one, and then if we turn a whole bunch of layers off and the line out back like that. So this was what we started with, and after after like 90 minutes similar, here's what we ended up with. To say I'm pretty happy with how he turned up. Let's see one final on how he looks on his card. after my computer decides to be responsive again. Okay. The program is quite resource intensive and so it's streaming, so that's why it's quite slow at times. Here we have the card, let me correct myself, the calending, the wood turtle illustration on the card itself. So I will think this will do for today's stream. I want to especially thank Keith for being able to join today. It was a lot more fun to be able to talk with someone during the stream. I hope you can make it some other time as well. The next stream will be either tomorrow morning, so it would be like 10 hours from now or something like that, or a Sunday morning or something like that. But if you follow on Twitter, which can be found here, or on YouTube, you will get notified on either of those when I will go live next. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!